So they took me to their evening meeting. We went for a bowl of donkey meat noodles, and then they took me to their evening meeting. There are the products, where they brought, it was rather like a church meeting, everyone bring a friend, and you bring someone along to introduce them to Amway, and then maybe they would get into it, and then you could all live the dream together. So just to explain this little part of the book, I should say that at this particular point in time, the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith has just come out with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and all around this town of Zhangya, which is really a two-horse town on the edge of the Gobi Desert, and all around there are posters of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and we walk along to the meeting, and this is what then happens. Then Runway, my friend, stands up to speak. In his earnest manner, he thanks Teacher Hu, who's the leader of Amway in this town, first of all, and thanks everyone else for coming. And then before beginning his speech, he turns around to me and thanks Mr. Smith. I do one of those movie double takes in which I turn around to see if there's another foreigner called Mr. Smith behind me. But it's soon clear that I am Mr. Smith. From that point onward, every speaker who stands up thanks Teacher Hu, thanks everyone else, and then nods to me and thanks me, Mr. Smith, a foreign friend, for coming. Perhaps they think that all foreigners are called Mr. Smith. Or perhaps even here in the Gobi Desert, people are confusing me with Brad Pitt. My grandchildren will remember my name, says Ren, getting into his oratorical stride, appearing to mean every word, because I'm going to change our family's fortunes. And I intend not just to make money for myself, but as I'm more successful with Amway, I intend to give back to the society. Perhaps I will start a school for disadvantaged children, because we must all put back into society, right? Do-do-day. Do-do-do-do-do, says the audience. Yes, 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 amen. You can't choose where you were born, but you can choose your future, booms Teacher Hu, to murmurs of do-do-do-do-do, yes, 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 from the congregation. Don't settle for chabuduo, he says. Don't settle for more or less, it's not good enough for you. And so, about 20 Chinese people in a rundown office building in a small Gobi Desert town sit and listen to a middle-aged former teacher's exposition of the Chinese dream. You too can have it, you too can succeed, you too can be empowered, you too can have the car, the apartment, the respect. The audience is listening and remembering. They will get up the next morning and go out to work in order to realize what they have heard. For those who seize the opportunity, this is part of the seismic shift that is going on. The possibility now exists to dream dreams that might actually be fulfilled. It's starting to change China one person at a time and create a new nation, a nation of slowly empowered individuals. At the end, everyone applauds one another. Teacher Hu thanks the group for coming and says that now we will divide into groups of 5, introduce ourselves and discuss the meeting. It's time to share, he says. 2,500 years of Confucianism and 60 years of Communist Party rule mean that Chinese people are not used to sharing in a way that seems normal in an American context. Chinese in this respect are more like the British, if not somewhat worse, generally reluctant to open up about their emotions at all. That may be the reason that so many Brits stay so long in China. They're just relieved to find another group of people as emotionally dysfunctional as themselves. Just kidding about the Chinese people. Four small groups of 5, plus the rather incredulous Mr. Smith, retreat to different corners of the room, huddle together, and share. When the meeting ends, Runway and Li Caijin escort me down the stairs to the front door. No need to see me out, I say, but in true, supremely polite Chinese fashion, they insist. It's amazing what you're doing, I tell them. I've absorbed the earnestness of the evening. I mean it completely. You see, says Li, taking me by the arm a little too firmly as we descend the echoey stairs, we want to live. Right now, we're just shengcun, we're just surviving. We want to shenghuo, we want to live, you know, we want to really live. Those words have stayed with me like almost no others on my whole trip across China. It could hardly be a better summary of everything that this crazy 21st century Chinese revolution is about. Okay, I'll see you in New York then, or Paris, or London. I smile as we shake hands. They smile back and we part the main entrance of the building. I wander back to my hotel in the warm evening air, asking myself why on earth I'm leaving this wonderful country, pondering the Chinese dream and the American dream, and wondering whether one is taking over from the other. So that's the first person I wanted to introduce you to. And he, as those two guys, as you can tell, very much represent the hope that is going on all the way along Route 312 and all around China. It is tangible, the hope in China. It is absolutely tangible. Almost everywhere you go, there is hope. But the other thing that there is, in almost equal measure, represented in some ways by this small town, which I'm hoping will emerge now, is despair. Hope and despair go hand in hand in China. For 20 years, 25 years, the only way was up for most Chinese people as they emerged from the wreckage of Maoism. Now, as the rural economy has stagnated, and with the increase in corruption, there are many, many, many problems emerging in China. This is a place I hitchhiked from. It's called Xinxia. It's on the edge of Xinjiang, the Muslim region of northwest China. And it's well known in histories of the old Silk Road. It's only about a day or two's travel from the previous place. And it's best known because of a freshwater well that has been there for centuries, that has watered man and beast on their journeys along the Silk Road. I showed up here, I went into a little cafe, and I just said to the cafe owner that all I said to him was, "How's life?" And here's what he said. "How is life? How is life? Life is not good. Do you know why? Because the officials have sealed up our well. The well that has given water to Xinxia for centuries has been sealed up with concrete." He looks up from his blackened wok and splashes soy sauce into the stir-fry, which sizzles as he tosses it. "The officials here are so evil, so incredibly immoral, it almost defies belief." "But why on earth would they want to do that?" I ask him. "Because," he pauses again and steps back from the stove, wok in hand, to look at me. "Because they run the local water company, and they want to force everyone to buy their water." Even when you think you know something of the venal nature of Chinese officials, stories like this can take your breath away. Lao Jiang says that he remonstrated with them, but they would not listen. He says they used the classic post-9/11 argument of government officials in Xinjiang, a region with a high population of Muslims. They said that if I kept on protesting, they would arrest me as a terrorist. And when you're arrested as a terrorist in China, you have no recourse, no lawyer, no protection. So Lao Jiang had to shut up, but he refuses to buy their water. Lao Jiang has a fire in his eyes that you seldom see in China. He doesn't seem like a normal cafe owner. In a different era, I imagine he could have been a revolutionary. But here he is in the middle of the desert trying to make a living for himself and his wife and child. The little cafe is baking hot. Lao Jiang is hotter. He has more stories of official corruption, more anger at the local officials, more tales of abuse of power, tales that you will hear in every truck stop, in every village, in every town across China. He waves his arms and fumes, seeming glad to get it all off his chest. "So is there nothing you can do about it?" I ask him finally. He stares at me intensely, beads of sweat rolling slowly down his temples, and he holds up two fingers. "There is only one thing to do, and I can tell you what it is in 2 characters. From the fire in his eyes and the barely restrained fury in his voice, I honestly think that he's going to say, 'Gurming,' revolution. But he doesn't. 'Renshou,' he says, spitting the words out between his teeth. 'Endure, that is all we can do. 'Renshou, we can and must endure. That is all we have ever been able to do.' I stare at him and slowly shake my head. He has just summed up thousands of years of Chinese history. Endure is all that old 100 names, the Lao Baixing, have ever been able to do. For all the progress in the wealthier parts of China, endure is all that hundreds of millions of common people in the poorer countryside and the western regions ever see themselves doing in future. At certain crisis points in history, the endurance has become too much. The pressure has built up and the volcano has erupted. Revolutions have started and have overthrown the ruling dynasty, but they have not led to a change in system. They've simply replaced one emperor with another, and with a new dynasty that ends up being just as corrupt as the last. There's never been any separation of powers, any linear narrative of change, any Magna Carta. Just power concentrated in the hands of a few officials trapped in an unending cycle of history.